Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate you taking the next 30 minutes to be with us as we talk about career paths with data analytics skills, an incredibly important skill set in our digital economy today. I'm going to go through quick introductions and why data science and analytics today. And I think you'll see lots of statistics and lots of information as one of the top skill sets that lots of careers are looking for. Overview of our data analytics and introductory programs and the certificate program, some start dates, some tuition costs, a few discounts mixed in there, and lots of information for career support as you explore this field. And also we have free career workshops that are happening right now as well, and very discounted career workshops if you are outside of Vermont. So just wanted to make sure that you're aware of those offerings as you continue to explore what might be next for you or advancement in your career. So I want to make sure that we go over those briefly. A few more housekeeping notes I did put in the chat box. Please ask your questions there. I'll keep an eye out for those questions throughout the presentation. This is being recorded. We will share out the presentation with everyone who has RSVP'd. We hope you enjoy the presentation today. Joining me today is Rich, the co-founder and COO of Stack Education. I believe he's in Boston or outside Boston in Massachusetts, joining us from Massachusetts today. Rich, thank you so much. And Lois is also with us. I believe you're also in Massachusetts and a graduate of our data analytics certificate program, and she is working in the field. So we're really excited to hear how this education has catapulted her career and the kind of results that she had throughout this program. Lois, we can't wait to hear your perspective. My name is Nicola Willie-Fenton. I'm in the Continuing and Distance Education Department at the University of Vermont, and I'm very happy to work with Lois and Rich today. And Rich, I'm going to let you take it from here because you have so much information to share about data analytics. So let's take it away. Go for it, Rich.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicole. Nice to meet you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. So for just a tiny bit extra context, in addition to being the COO and co-founder of Stack Education, I myself got to work in data analytics myself back in the day. Starting in 2008, I was an analyst for Deloitte. So I got to sample a little bit myself and have overseen the development of this course. That said, my experience in the field pales in comparison to Lois, who actually works in the field daily and really knows the ins and outs of what it takes to succeed in it. But I know lots about what it takes to break into it. That's where I come from. So why data science and analytics? Why now? What does this field really look like? How much is it growing? So this field, data analytics and data science, is growing faster than just about any other skill category in the world. Besides arguably healthcare, but there's lots of demand for data analytics in healthcare. It's one of the most popular areas to need this stuff. So Python is a popular language. You may have heard of it before as a coding language, which is why it is one of the most popular languages out there. But Python is also a scripting language for data work. So there's lots and lots you can do with that, and it's one of the main languages that we teach in the course. So whether you're trying to get into data science or if you're also just broadly interested in coding, Python is an awesome language to learn because once you learn it for this, you can actually transition it over to that other field. The other thing to know about this field, aside from just how ridiculously fast it's growing, it's also unlikely to stop growing anytime soon. You may have heard of AI and artificial intelligence and things like that. At its root, AI is all powered by data analytics and data science. So in fact, in the coming years, you're likely to start hearing about this AI revolution and its negative impact on the workforce, which is likely to happen in some fields, may get replaced with some artificial intelligence stuff. Even things like sales are getting AI'd out in some cases. But the people who build AI need to know data science and analytics, so there's a lot of job security there. But it pays really well, is the simple truth. So the average yearly is $70,000 for entry-level roles. Once you get more advanced in the field, even just a few years in, those start to quickly approach 6 figures. And frankly, true data scientists, which takes a bit of time to get there. That's not something you get to in a year or two usually, but throughout your career, once you grow there, those get deep into the 6 figures and are frankly some of the highest paying roles in the entire technology field, full stop. So as you can see, from this little chart over here, It's all over the place. This isn't just, some of the just the major cities that this is growing in. And more companies, especially after the pandemic, but more and more companies are aware that they've just got to recruit from this anywhere and allow people to be remote. So there are stories of Google poaching people from Seattle to, who live in the middle of nowhere, poaching them from Amazon or other companies and saying like, hey, just work for us. It doesn't matter if you're remote, that's fine. Because most of the stuff you can do fully remotely. So the jobs just kind of keep increasing, and it doesn't seem that there's any indication that it's going to stop for the next 5-10 years at least. So let me move on a little bit here. So let me tell you a little bit about our program, and I'm going to have Lois explain some of this. So I'll walk through each of these categories a bit and ask her a couple of questions. So Lois, as one of our grads, has experienced it firsthand and can. My instructions to her were just, hey Lois, just answer my questions honestly and be yourself, and that'll be perfect. The first thing that we do in this kind of course that's a little bit different maybe than some some of the regular kind of classes you may have taken in the past are that it is all taught by industry practitioners. That means it's taught by people who are actually in this job for their day job. They work as data scientists or data analysts or similar roles like that. Lois, when you took the course, if I remember right, your instructor was
Yes.
Olivia. Is that right? Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about, learning from Olivia and some of the things you maybe noticed were helpful since, by day she was doing this kind of work and by night she was
I
teaching
think
it?
the interesting part for me was the fact that because I was going into it to be able to go to the field and to work as a data analyst. So the interesting thing for me is the fact that she was teaching us exactly what she was doing. So it made the learning easier. Like I'm grasping exactly what I'm going to use. So I think bringing people from the field was very helpful. I mean, to me in that sense. And I know it's to my friends as well, those who took the program.
Yeah, thanks, Lois. I think the way that we view these kind of programs is that it's more of a training than an education. We're not trying to teach you about the field, we're trying to teach you how to do it as a job. And there's frankly just nobody better to do that than somebody who's in the job and is experienced and loves to bring people in. So, one of the other benefits is that the people teaching it, they're doing it because they want to. They really like to help people break into the field because they themselves have benefited from being in the space. The next piece is that the curriculum is market driven. What that means is that the way the curriculum was built was first by analyzing the data, funny enough, on what companies hire for in the field. So we look at massive data aggregation sites to figure out, okay, in the millions of job postings that existed last year for data analyst or data science related skills, what words popped up under the requirement section the most? And then we go and talk to hiring managers and practitioners in the field and say, okay, are these all real? What's missing? What doesn't make it into the job descriptions because you tend not to say it, but you really need it anyway. And that's ultimately how the curriculum is determined. And then it's built by the practitioners themselves, many of the people who teach it. The next thing is that we always include a real world industry project. What that means is that we're not just teaching you how to do stuff in the classroom and having you do exercises that we developed that are very practical, but it's still in the safety of a classroom environment in that context. We also partner with companies and give you an actual project to do for that company that is not academic. It is real work that they need done and will use, as part of their business. Lois, who was your project? Do you remember what you guys did?
We had the industry project and we had the capstone project. So the industry project, we had an industry partner who gave us the assignment to do. So, and that was the group project. There was 3 of us in that group. So that was kind of a group discussion, group project. And then we had the capstone project, which is an individual project where for that one, you go and find your own data. And that I found that very interesting. For the group project,
What
my
was your capstone?
capstone, well, we were asked to get an industry that we are interested in. And the industry I was interested in, because I have a civil engineering background, I was going for a civil engineering data. But then I realized all that data seemed to have already been cleaned, looked cleaned already. So then I decided, okay, let me just go for any data, because I realized in reality, in real life, you're not going to get what you want. You're going to get anything. So I just went for a data, and I went into the health sector and got a data. I've also done some kind of CNA. So I went for a data in healthcare facilities. And so for that, I was able to model out the rating that they gave to healthcare facilities. So it was very interesting. I mean, the data looked boring at the beginning, but I think when you get the insight out of it, then it becomes very interesting. So that was.
Yeah, and I think that's a good commentary too on what it's like to be a data analyst in general, right? Because raw data is never really cool. Like, I don't think anybody wakes up in the morning and they're like, boy, I can't wait to look at rows of information in Excel. Like, that's not a thing people feel. But when you start to dig through that data and you see a trend or an insight, you start to go, oh, whoa, there's a story hidden in here. And that's a lot of what it is, what it means to be in this kind of a job. It's not just number crunching, it's looking for an insight or a story that the data can tell, for you or your employer or your job or your customers or whatever it is. So this real world project, the goal of this is that you often find on job descriptions for an entry level role, it'll still say 1 to 3 years of experience required, which always drives me crazy because that's a paradox. Entry level role, experience required. It's like, get out of here, what are you doing to me? And we know that that's a reality. And so we want people to leave this program having done actual work for an actual company, so that on your resume, you put this component under the experience section, not the education section. So you can say, I was a co-op, consultant or contractor or whatever for this company on this project. Similar to the capstone, because the capstone really is yours through and through. Some of our students have done, data on, of course, COVID and vaccination rates and, initial like disease outcomes. People have done things related to the overall happiness of a population and how that changes. And so it's truly yours, and we just kind of help coach you through it. The next piece is our professional acceleration program. So these are what you could call them the non-technical skills. People often call them soft skills. I don't like that word because they are hard skills. They are truly things that you can learn, but really they're professional skills. How do you succeed in the field? Communication styles, resumes, networking. How do you do the job hunt, and things like that. And then finally, you develop your own portfolio of projects, which Lois already described a little bit. The capstone is part of that. Before we jump to the next slide, Lois, when you were interviewing for your role at MentorWorks, were they asking about some of your background and the kind of projects that you were working on? Like, did you kind of have to talk a bit about your portfolio with them?
I had to talk about the capstone project from the beginning to the end, like what I did to clean it up and what I analyzed and what I predicted, but everything and how we went about it.
Yeah. In tech, a lot of roles are a bit of a meritocracy, to getting there. They want to see that you can do the thing, not just talk about the thing. So we often say, show, don't tell, prove it. So a portfolio really helps you do that. So, okay, in this course, we'll teach you how to write scripts and data analyses and build models for predicting, what would happen. For example, what might happen if our customers start doing this, what might happen as an outcome, or if we raise our prices, or, if, things like that. For example, predicting pandemic outcomes that's been modeling all year. We're reading about the model suggests if we get to X vaccination rate, this is what might happen, things like that. Lois, what languages in your day job are you using, and how much of a part of it, of your job are these kinds of things?
Python. It's mainly Python. And I have maybe a little data
Yeah,
in
Python's
Excel,
really popular now.
but yeah, mainly Python.
Did you have did you have Python or R experience before the course? I don't
Before the
remember.
course, none. None. I had
None.
for art, I'd
Okay.
heard of Python.
You were
I
doing
hadn't even
Excel though.
tried it. And I hadn't heard about R at all.
Wow.
At all. So yeah, I learned everything from being in the boot camp. I mean, it's only 4 months, 5 months, but even though it's short, you still get the basics that you need. And the rest of it is really dependent on you. If you're interested in it, you should go for it. Like you should go and learn as much as you can to be able to help you do the work. Because I'm sure some people are thinking 5 months is too short to really start working with that language, but the rest depends on you. And even in the process of studying it, you have to be open to read more and to research more. So
This is why I love bringing Lois on, because she speaks the truths. Lois, thank you so much for that comment, because that's really the truth, is that we teach a lot in the course. We genuinely do teach everything needed to sort of start as an, entry-level analyst in some capacity. But so much of it depends on the work that you're going to put in, because it's really hard. 5 months to learn what a lot of people go to school for 4 years to do is no easy task. And so you have to really put in that work outside of class. And in Lois's case, having no background at all in any scripting, or I even actually remember the first day of class with you, you had used Excel, but you were still newer to it. You didn't know how to do pivot tables or any of the advanced stuff, already. Right.
analytical that I had used Excel for. So yeah, the advanced Excel was
Yeah.
good. It was good.
Yeah. So these things, it's feasible to learn in that time frame, even though it feels totally foreign and overwhelming right now to some of you probably. Um, the other piece, so of course, you got to learn the sort of coding languages that you use to manipulate data, but we'll also teach you to create data insights and stories with graphs, charts, and tables. What this means is that you can analyze data all day, but at the end of the day, you need to communicate that finding and that insight to somebody else who didn't do the analysis. So if you've seen infographics online, those come from generally data analysts who originated that kind of insight. And you'll learn how to do all of that in the course as well. And of course, statistical analyses and models and things to forecast trends. These are basically ways of looking at data and then predicting what might happen in the future based on that past data or based on some other parameter change. And of course, build, manipulate data, databases, and all kinds of things like that, using SQL as the primary language. Logistically, the course meets 3 times a week, 6:30 to 9:30, and it's 100% online, like most things right now, like even our friendships. Although finally that's coming to an end. So it is all online. There's lots of work to do at home. Like we said, it's all being taught by data analysts and data scientists. But in addition to the live class time, there's lots of work that you do to apply the concepts separately. So Lois, can you describe a little bit about what your experience was like? I know we tend to do a day of lecture and then maybe a lab. So can you explain a little bit what your experience was like trying to apply, what you learned on a day and then working on it in class or at home? What that might have looked like in a given week for you?
Knowing that you're going to come out of this and apply it. So for me, whatever was taught in class, I had to go over it and then go and research more around it and look for a data or a topic that is related to what has just been taught. So that way I'm able to apply it quicker and easier at the very moment that it's taught. Then that
Yeah,
I
and
can
it's
come up with questions too. Because if I don't do the extra, I wouldn't have any question to ask in the next class. And that's what helped me.
yeah. And that is why you were such a standout student. And what we do is essentially, let's say we're teaching on a Monday night, we may teach you how to do a visualization, take some data and turn it into something that might make sense to somebody without the data background in a visual way using a tool called Tableau, which is one of the more popular tools for doing it. Lots of the visualizations you've seen online and infographics have come from Tableau. For example, like a heat map of, case rates or something from COVID, like hovering over a city. That's very commonly something you might build in Tableau. So we might say, here's how you do it, and then we're going to give you an assignment, that's got a data set and says, go and build a visualization that makes sense to us, using this data. So it's always practical exercises. It's not, don't write essays about what you learned. We have no interest in that. I want to see that you were able to do the thing that we explained on that day. And that's built into every single week of the course. So, like I just said, basically, don't just learn, do. So you'll build your own large-scale data analyses. So, for your capstone, for example, like Lois was explaining before, we want you to answer significant questions. And the way that we pose this to you as your capstone is we might say, look for a big economic or policy question or a large trend that you think exists. So, people have done things looking at astronomy data, astronomical data to make predictions about, sort of how to analyze where certain star clusters might be. We've had people look at biological data from, like animal studies. And like we said earlier, the, overall happiness of populations, or what might happen if taxes increased, what might be, what might happen to, healthcare costs or something like that. So there are large data sets out there that you can find that we want you to take a really big dive into. And these kind of projects will be yours start to finish. We'll guide you, but it's really yours, so that at the end you can talk to an employer and say, this is what I did, this is what I figured out. And we want you to build something that you're excited to share with your colleagues or employers. My joke when we were developing these, I used to say to our team, I want them to build something that they want to go, hey mom, look what I made. Even as a 30-year-old, because our average age is 30 actually. You still might want to call up, somebody you care about and say, like, look what I just did. Like, this is crazy that I'm capable of doing this. So I won't ask Lois questions about this part because she already explained it. And this puts together your portfolio.
I was going
go
to say,
ahead,
and
Lois,
to add to the work that we did in class, I think what I thought was good too is the variation of the data that we had. Like we had a data with bicycles. We had a data that was tracking the bicycle, the traffic using the bicycle. And we had different data on maps. So it was completely, there were no connection between the two. And I think that's what I loved, because like I said, you're not going to go in the field and see something that you are used to. It's going to be something different. So each of those data, we analyze them in class, and you have to finish it up on your own with the questions that were given. So that was very helpful. Just wanted to add.
That's a great point. Thanks for pointing that out, because actually, since you've been in the course, which is a bit ago, we've added a whole bunch more data sets as well. So now we actually added sort of extra focus on healthcare related data, insurance related data, things like that, because these are very common places that our graduates are landing in the field, is in healthcare, finance, and insurance are just very popular. And so we wanted to give some more context on that. But we try to be wide in it, because until you get in the field, you don't know how terrible data starts. Like, it's messy, it's sloppy, it's, the data isn't clear, and a large part of any data analysis starts with cleaning the data so that it can even be well analyzed. And so we want to get people familiar with lots of different kinds of data sets. So that's a great point, Lois. Now, after the program is completed, there are 12 weeks of career support for us to help you land in the kind of job or promotion or whatever it is that you're trying to get. Some of our students come in not working. Some of them come in with some relevant background. Some come in saying, I've barely even opened Excel before, but I've always liked math, or I've liked data, or I love reading about kind of analyses, and they have some kind of indication that they want to do this as a job. And so it's a long way of saying people come in from all different points. And our goal is to help every graduate achieve their outcome goal, land where they want to, whether that's the most entry job in the field or a promotion to move up into something more significant. Lois, can you briefly describe your experience in the career support and counseling after the course ended to help you sort of land where you were hoping to go? It was.
To figure out what I want, where and what industry you want to go, and what are the specifics of the job description that is important for you to take, and how to do your resume, your LinkedIn. So it was very helpful. It was a very good guidance. But again, it was very short for me. But it was.
Yes, I like when it's short. Short is good. I also say that you can't tell this on a webinar, but I'm 5'3", so I really subscribe to that. But we try to make it as brief as possible for people. But really what we're doing here is helping coach you through your own job search. Everybody has to be the master of their own search because it's a bit different for everybody. But we want to coach you through figuring out where maybe you fit best. You know, if you have a background as a mechanic or as a nurse's assistant or something, we want to help turn that into a career direction that makes sense, where you can pull on those past skills and direct that into your next job, because that's probably whatever you've done before is probably relevant to somebody. And sometimes that's hard to figure out, and we always want to coach you through that. Now, the tuition and sort of all of the what I call the boring details. So we have, in this whole sort of 20-week experience, we actually have 3 versions. So we have something that's 3 weeks long. That's an intro to data analytics for business. So this is a great place to start. That course is $2,000. Then we have a introduction to Python for data analysis, which is usually something you take right after that intro to data analytics for business. So it turns that 3-week course into a 6-week course. That is $4,000. And then if you want to stay for the full 20-week experience, that's about $12,000, and you just continue on. So your first 3 weeks is the basic, then another 3 weeks adds in Python, and then you would just keep on going for the final 14 weeks to do the complete program. We have discounts for alumni and veterans and a couple other things as well. So if you're wondering if you can earn a discount, just ask us and we'll help you figure it out. And there's very few prerequisites for the course. This really is for, frankly, it's just about anybody who's comfortable using a computer. If you're typing with 2 fingers, if you really struggle to use a computer, it's going to be pretty tough. But if you're a decent typer, if you know how to use Chrome and Firefox and Safari or other internet browsers, you're probably good to go. And as long as your computer functions well, if you don't feel like you're in a fight with your computer every time you turn it on, you're probably all set. But during the admissions process, we'll always help you figure out, if you're right for this.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Rich, and thank you, Lois. Super interesting to hear about this. And I know this is a new partnership with the University of Vermont and Stack Education. So it's really great to hear the value and the wraparound services that both continuing and distance education and Stack Education provide for our students. And I recognize that we just have about a minute left. So I just wanted to, Daniel and Jonathan and Patrick, who have joined us today, if you feel comfortable sharing in the chat, where are you at? Are you interested in an introductory? Are you interested in going for the full certificate? Where are you at in your career search as well? Is this something that you're looking to get into, or do you already have experience in data analytics? And I just wanted to, I'll just touch on this for a second, and then I want to get to the other free career workshops that we have for people as well. Data analytics is such an important skill set for so many different jobs right now. We had a webinar a few weeks ago with our lead instructor in digital marketing, and data analytics, one of the top things that are listed in digital marketing jobs as well. So really seeing, this is just a quick sampling of how these skills can be used. And Rich, I know we're at time, but just wanted to come back to you. Has that been your experience as well, that this skill set is so important across a variety of careers.
There's almost no industry that isn't touched by data now. And just a ridiculous amount of roles. I mean, it's valuable whether you're working in clinical trials or, as a business analyst or, even like importing. I mean, it's just like there's very few jobs, that you can't use these kinds of skills. As if you're sitting on a computer or you ever have to sort of think about a decision that might have some data to back it up, this is valuable stuff.
Yeah, great. Good point too. And if you're still, Patrick, thank you so much for sharing where you're at. Many times people still aren't exactly sure where they might go with that skill set. So we have 2 workshops that are free to Vermonters and then $99 for anybody outside of the state. So I just wanted to make sure that our participants today are aware of other opportunities to explore different careers and to get on that right path. There is a workshop called Exploring the Career Path for You, which sounds kind of just as it is titled. 4 weeks online. There's some participation to get you moving towards the goals that you're setting for yourself. And then another workshop that we have called Getting the Job for You, Getting the Job You Want. This is where you know what you're going to do, what kinds of jobs you're interested in, how to tailor that resume, how to prepare for the interviews, how to LinkedIn network much more effectively, how to build those profiles on LinkedIn, building upon some of the things that Rich was talking about that this course also gives you. You can take advantage of these workshops at the University of Vermont Continuing and Distance Education as well. We have a few start dates coming up, in addition to the session 2 is just about to wrap up, but session 3 is kicking in here in a couple weeks, and session 4. And Rich, I also wanted to come back to the start dates for the courses we've been talking about today. There is one starting Saturday. So maybe Patrick, if you're ready and you want to jump in, right. And Kelly put them in the chat for us. Thank you, Kelly. But Rich, we've got a couple good things coming up. Can you just share with our participants today?
Yeah, starting this Saturday. So if you're like gung-ho ready to go, this Saturday, October 2nd, the Intro to Data Analytics for Business starts, and that is the kickoff of the full 20-week course or the 3-week course for the intro. 3 weeks after that, on October 25th, is when we begin the Intro to Python. So if you have a little bit of background already in the field, you're pretty comfortable with Excel and things, you can consider skipping that first component and jumping right into the Python piece, and you can continue on to the rest of the course from there. And if you're pretty advanced already and you really want to get in the weeds of data science and R and things like that, you can start all the way as late as November 15th. So we have a sort of staggered start depending on your experience level, if you'd like.
Great. And that's the perfect way to do it, because as you said in the beginning, people come at this from all different perspectives and different points in their career. Thank you. Patrick's typing again. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Jonathan, for being with us today. We really wish you well in your career search and your quest to understand data. And Rich and Lois, thank you so much for a really wonderful presentation. Appreciate your time, and we wish everyone a wonderful afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.
It's our pleasure. Thanks, guys.